Now, as we all know, the Galaxy Z Fold 6 is going to be announced in a couple of weeks and then released a few weeks after that. So we're looking basically about a month away before the 6th generation of Samsung Galaxy phones is released. And we have this lineage of 5 other phones before the 6 that are out right now that you can buy. And obviously you probably wouldn't want to buy the first one, but we have this awesome lineage of folding phones from Samsung. And it's interesting to look back over some of the changes physically, if any, at some point that these phones have had. So I wanted to go through that. And I think it's really interesting to look at. So let's take a closer look at the first Galaxy Z Fold phone all the way up to the 6th. Now, the look that we have of these phones is from the back of the phone, and then you can see the front display. And I wanted to talk about the ugliest of these that I personally think, and that is the Galaxy Z Fold 2. I don't like the camera housing at all. It just looks clunky and ugly. I think the Galaxy Z Fold 1 camera housing looks better than that. It looks like a better phone in some regards versus it. Obviously, when you open it up and the front display, the Galaxy Z Fold 2 is better looking, but like the back of these phones, man, I think the Galaxy Z Fold 2 is probably the ugliest out of all the generations. The back of the phones on the Galaxy Z 3, 4, and 5, you could probably even throw the 6 really in there, look so identical in these photos that you'd be hard pressed at times to be able to really tell a difference. They haven't seemingly put a lot of effort into redesigns. You would have thought they would have done it with the Z Fold 5, with it being the 5th generation. And then not even with that, then you'd think the 6. Like, let's put some differences, especially on the camera housing at that point. And again, they didn't really do it. And to me, that is kind of disappointing, especially with these types of phones that are just so radically different than a regular phone, especially with the mechanism of opening and closing it and having 2 displays, one on the front, one on the inside. That's where like the life of the phone is. And you thought they'd put a little bit more effort into the back, and they seemingly, unfortunately, haven't. And to be fair, I kind of like no housing at all when I look at these. With the Galaxy Z Fold 1, it kind of looks just clean, and I kind of wish maybe they'd go back to that, and maybe they can't for developmental reasons, and they need it to be there to stabilize the cameras, or who knows why they need it there. But I kind of like it without it being there. I think it's a better look. Now you see the weights of each phone progressively getting less from the 1st now down to the 6th, and the 6th should be the thinnest and the lightest Galaxy Z Fold phone that Samsung has ever released. And that in turn is going to create a much better usage case with a lot of folks. I think a lot more people are going to notice a big difference with that, because when you hold a foldable phone, sometimes they feel pretty heavy. And I know going from like a Pixel Fold to a OnePlus Open, which is a drastic difference in weight. Even the Galaxy Z Fold phone is lighter than the Pixel Fold. Pixel Fold feels really, really heavy. It's one of the, I would say, the downfalls of it. Some people like it. They think it makes it feel more premium. To me, I don't want that unless they're going to give me like a huge battery and much better cameras and just better overall internals. But if you're not, you really need to thin that baby out. And the Galaxy Z Fold 6 seemingly is doing that, again, with the thinner, lighter design. Now, the front displays, it's hard to tell from this photo, but I think the Z Fold 6 will take the cake on the inside and outside displays because of the squared off edges. It's been rounded basically since it's been released, and to go to an all square design to match what you see on the original Notes, or not original, but the later Notes, and now the Galaxy S24 Ultra phones, it makes it a nicer look, especially on the folding design. Not having any bezel really. I mean, it has a little bit of bezel on the inside display and on the outside display, but barely anything at all, and it's very symmetrical. It just looks a lot better. So in that regard, in terms of design, Samsung has definitely improved things from the 1st generation to the 6th with that. The hinge and the overall reliability of the phone in general has improved drastically from the first one, where when initially it went out to reviewers, they would take off this screen protector they weren't supposed to take off, and it damaged the phone. And then they fixed that and released the phone, and it's still, when you go in the 2, the 3, the 4, all those phones, they kind of got better over time, definitely, with that reliability. You know, how good these phones are made now. I mean, it's a big jump, even just from the 4 to the 5. The 5 was a massive jump in how well structured it was, and I imagine that the 6 is going to be even better. So the hinge design and reliability of the hinge has just gotten massively improved, and the overall, you can't see from this photo, but also the crease in the phone hasn't been drastically improved, but it has gotten better pretty much year over year, or every 2 years it's gotten a little bit better. So it's nice to see some improvements in that. I'd like to see some drastic changes, but you know, at least we're getting something. And then just to summarize things up, when you look from the 1st to the 6th, design-wise, there's really not a lot of difference. It's held that design language from the 1st generation all the way to the 6th. And folks that want something completely redesigned, and maybe Samsung to take a dare or two with the design and make things maybe better, a lot better. Maybe don't feel that way, but when you use, if you've used these phones year over year over year, you do notice some slight improvements. I think this year was really about reliability and making the best designed phone that was not going to potentially break for most folks. And then throughout the years, they've kind of kept things safe. This is really a safe phone, which is an oxymoron because it's not the safest phone. The safest phone you can get is a traditional candy bar phone, but for Samsung, they're playing it safe, and they've been playing it safe for years now. And hopefully the 6 and things like that will be a thing of things to change from this after the 6, where they'll just have us in a state of awe and wonder as they have been bringing on new designers for their buds line and their watch line, and hopefully a new design will come with the 7. But what would you guys like to see in the Galaxy Z Fold 7 that we don't see in the 6 in terms of design? Thanks for watching. Have a great day, and we'll see you down the road. Peace.